Finally, the longbowmen pulled back their bows, eyes locked on the approaching adversaries. The early 15th century found England entrenched in a tumultuous era marked by conflict and political strife. Multiple brutal campaigns led by Henry IV and his son were necessary to quell these insurrections and maintain their hold on power. After the death of Henry IV on March 20, 1413, the crown passed to his son, Henry V, who was crowned on April 9, 1413, amid a fierce snowstorm that swept through Westminster Abbey on his coronation day. The severe weather led the common folk to speculate whether it was an omen of prosperity or impending doom. As the son of a usurper, Henry's rule was precarious in the early phases of his reign, leading many nobles to harbor suspicions about his legitimacy. Although he might have pursued the restoration of lost lands, such audacious demands may have been intended to provoke rejection. Convincing himself of the righteousness of his claims, King Henry prepared to use military action to claim what he deemed rightfully his should diplomacy collapse. The force amassed at Southampton numbered around 12,000, including a significant contingent of archers. Unsurprisingly, King Charles' government refused to yield to such exorbitant demands, making war inevitable. Following a plot against him, where he executed the conspirators, Henry V set sail from England on August 11, 1415, aboard approximately 700 ships. Their primary target was Harfleur, a fortified port that had long posed a threat to English interests due to its strategic position. On August 14th, Henry's army landed near the mouth of the River Seine and promptly laid siege to the city after his initial demands for surrender were met with refusal. The logical course of action was to head toward the coastline. Henry wasted no time as he led his forces from Harfleur on a rapid march to Calais. Contrary to his advisors' counsel, King Henry aimed to assert his strength by ravaging northern France, believing those lands rightfully belonged to him. However, French Constable Charles d'Albret swiftly pursued him, urging local nobles to mobilize their retinues to confine the English forces west of the Somme, intending to trap them. Days later, the English approached the river, only to find the French had blocked their path. As both armies settled in for the night, the English troops were fatigued, hungry, and ill, while the French were bolstered by confidence in their approaching victory. The sheer number of their adversaries was awe-inspiring. Estimates suggest the French troops ranged from 12,000 to 15,000 strong. The English were nearly outnumbered 3-1. The standoff lasted for hours, with D'Albret in no hurry and Henry significantly outmatched. Both sides remained steadfast, but the English suffered from dwindling supplies, while the French were well-fed and comfortable. As the day dragged on, Henry recognized he had to take decisive action before his exhausted army succumbed to illness and hunger. The troops fell silent momentarily before the king bellowed the long-anticipated order, "Banners, advance!" Invoking the names of Jesus and St. George, the army knelt in prayer, kissed the earth, and then rose, trudging across the sodden field. The French were caught unawares by the sudden English advance and scrambled to organize themselves. As it appeared the two armies were about to clash, Henry ordered his men to stop at the outer limit of their longbow range. The archers quickly repositioned the sharp stakes in front of their line, and after completing this task, they retreated behind their defenses to unleash a volley of arrows into the tightly packed French ranks. In response, D'Albret urged his troops to confess their sins, charge at the English, and fight honorably. The French army sent mounted knights on both flanks ahead of the main line, hoping to breach the English archers and carve a path for the heavily armored men-at-arms. However, the muddy and plowed fields severely hampered their progress, and they soon surged into a relentless barrage of arrows. The unyielding rain of arrows wreaked havoc among the French knights, bringing many down and sending their panicking horses back toward the safety of the French lines. The fleeing horses collided with the advancing infantry, disrupting their formations and plunging them into chaos. Some inexperienced French nobles believed that their overwhelming numbers would intimidate the English, but they were tragically mistaken. Adhering to the code of chivalry, the French men-at-arms insisted on engaging their English counterparts in one-on-one combat while ignoring the archers strategically positioned to their flanks. Despite their fatigue, sheer numbers allowed the French to push the English back, but their dense formation limited the effectiveness of their strikes. Many soldiers struggled to lift their arms, and the visors of their helmets restricted visibility, resulting in chaotic flailing of armored limbs and weapons. The pressure exerted from behind the 1st French Division forced those in front to topple, becoming trampled beneath their fellow comrades, unable to stand once more. The arrival of the 2nd French Division only exacerbated the confusion, as their attempts to advance behind the 1st Division only served to slow progress and sow further chaos within their ranks. Despite their initial successes, the French could not seize the upper hand as the battle devolved into a bloody, brutal confrontation. As the English line began to wane, the archers cast aside their bows and surged forward into close combat, wielding swords and daggers. Their lighter armor granted them the agility necessary to navigate through the muck, cleaving through the French formation with efficiency. With no reserves left to spare, King Henry himself fought alongside his men, capturing numerous French soldiers destined for ransom after the conflict. After 2 hours of intense combat, victory was secured.